Hello, welcome to Adweek Together, and happy Monday to you wherever you're tuning in from. I see we have people from Nigeria, Iowa, Orlando, Miami, Boston, and New York. I'm Stephanie Paterik. I'm the executive editor of Adweek. I'm coming to you from New York, and I'm joined by another Stephanie, Stephanie Buscemi. She is the CMO of Salesforce, joining us from San Francisco, the other side of the coast. Stephanie, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to, it's interesting. Salesforce was one of, I think, the first companies to really get out ahead of this crisis. And I know that Mark Benioff made an announcement early on that that you guys would not be doing layoffs for the first 90 days. It seems like you responded quickly. Can you tell me a bit about what that was like from the inside, and how your team moved to help the internal staff in sort of the early days of the coronavirus crisis?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to describe it was all hands on deck immediately. Salesforce, you've probably heard Mark Benioff say before that business is the greatest platform for change. And so at Salesforce, we're always pretty highly tuned in to what's going on in the communities that we serve and around us. And COVID-19 is no exception. So we quickly rallied as an organization and started to reflect on what are the ways that we can help out, and really putting speed as a top value in terms of that time matters right now. So be thoughtful about what can our people do to help? What can we do with our product? What can we be doing financially that will have the most impact? And our top priority has been to flatten the curve. This included asking all of our employees from around the world to work from home, and for us to take all of our events that we have with our customers and partners and our whole ecosystem and move them to virtual experiences. So for us, job one is how can we contribute in the most meaningful ways to flattening the curve and taking care of the health and safety of our employees, our customers, our ecosystem during this time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I feel like tech companies were at the forefront asking their employees to work from home, and particularly at San Francisco also, I think, was really the first U.S. city to ask people to work from home. We were a bit behind in New York. Do you feel like it was, was it government that helped Salesforce make that decision, or was it really the tech companies deciding to be proactive?
I think it was a real partnership. I mean, there was dialogue on a daily basis, for example, with the city of San Francisco, a partnership with our mayor, London Breed, and to really make the decision. And I feel like all of the Bay Area companies really rallied together around the health and safety of employees.
Yeah.
I think we have to remember that, California, it's not been easy times. We're coming off the heels of a lot of the fires. And so having discussions about, protecting the employees and things happening around the world around us, unfortunately, it's not new to us. So I was pretty impressed with how quickly we all came together and agreed that this was the best thing for everyone.
I'm curious to know, what are some perhaps unexpected needs that have come up among your employees? What needs are out there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I think if you just pause and think about it, it wouldn't be unexpected. But the biggest thing has just been ensuring the mental health of our employees and their families, not just the physical health, but the mental health. I mean, this has been a unprecedented crisis, and it's traumatic for many people. And it's created a whole lot of change, and it has impact on, we see everyone trying to homeschool their children. People have to take care of their elderly. It's had financial impacts for people. And I think really putting things in place that make sure that people can really take care of their mental health and be in a good spot. We've launched new well-being surveys. We do a daily pulse with every employee survey. We're really trying to stay on top of where our employees at right now, and then give them a set of self-care tools. So we have daily mindfulness meditation. We have people setting up art classes virtually, yoga classes. We're really trying to reach out and give people tools to make sure they stay in a good headspace through what is a really tough time.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure your company has so many working parents right now, and I know an interesting resource that you partnered with an external organization on was just resources for homeschooling, right, and for students.
Yes, we partnered with Common Sense Media, and we're now providing new free online resources in partnership with them with wideopenschool.org. And it's just a resource for all families and educators who are transitioning to a remote learning environment. So it's really best practices and how to do remote learning. I mean, it's a very different motion for everyone. I'm no exception. I've got a 13-year-old down the hall who's doing remote learning, and some days it's good, and some days it's not. But wideopenschool.org people should check out, because it's a tremendous resource to help us quickly ramp on what are the best practices for remote learning.
That's fantastic. And I want to say, by the way, anyone who's tuning in on LinkedIn, I'm watching your comments. So if you have a question for Stephanie, feel free to chime in. We've just been talking about Salesforce's internal response. I'm going to talk with her a bit about the external response and how Salesforce has been working to meet its customers and their customers' needs. And then also we're going to talk about the future. So if you have questions about anything along those lines, let us know. So Stephanie, tell me about the external response. I know that sales teams were already having a tough year, particularly in media. It's been a tougher year for media. We've seen a lot of layoffs even before this happened, and also for ad tech companies. I know that this, from our reporters covering those spaces, this has been another blow. You are helping a lot of those companies. What needs are you hearing from them? How are their needs shifting in this unusual time?
Yeah, I mean, it really varies by industry. Each industry is having its own experience. As you can imagine, travel, transportation, and hospitality has been much harder hit than some other industries. We're doing a combination of things right now. Again, our customers, I brought up earlier, speed, time to value. People need quick wins right now to help them stay afloat and keep their business running. We've really gone through all of our products and solutions, and we're making many of them free for a period of time to customers and partners to navigate the crisis. If you can think about it right now, people are needing to scale call centers. Whether it's in healthcare, life sciences, people calling in, they need to be able to scale call centers. We have that solution there. We can provide that technology to them, as well as them leveraging things like bots. We've seen a massive increase in the usage of service bots throughout this crisis, just to get the scale and many of these call centers across different industries trying to serve people. So we're giving away product for free right now for a period of time. We went across all of our product portfolio, and we put together something called Salesforce Care. And that's a set of free rapid response solutions. And it's allowing companies to stay connected with their customers. And so that's been job one, is to get that into the hands of as many customers as possible. We're also really looking out for our small and medium business companies in particular. You can think about it, small businesses get hit the hardest. A large company can maybe endure months of economic uncertainty. As to a small business, that's particularly challenging. So we have Salesforce Essentials, which is our out-of-the-box CRM offering for small businesses, and we've made that available to them for free. We're also putting out into market for free Tableau, which is our analytics solution, so people can get the insights they need. We're making that free as well. So we're really looking to say, what are the things that they can get value from immediately in our portfolio, make that free to them, and then provide them the best practices on how to get up and running quickly, and provide them a resource center. We started something called Leading Through Change, which is a content resource center in addition to our products, that allows customers, regardless of where they sit in an organization across sales, service, marketing, to go in and get how-to content. How do you, as a marketer, move to running virtual events? We've packaged that up in an easy way to consume to say, here's how you make that change. Here's the best practices, call center best practices. The reality is, as we get through the sort of the crisis management phase, we will get into a phase here where people are, how do they sell from home? How do they service from home? How do they market from home? How will we continue to get back to work from home? And we want to be there for our customers to provide them the best practices and solutions to do that.
It's interesting. You mentioned the Leading Through Change portal, where you guys have created a lot of video and educational content. I myself have been blown away by just the way that even our own readers' tastes are changing during this time, and there is such a demand for video content, for education. What are you and your team learning about best practices with digital content and on events? I know, a lot of us are learning on the fly. Were you guys in this space before?
I would say we were in the space before. This certainly accelerates things. It becomes a crash course quickly. For us, we've really looked at all of our content and parsed through all of our content to say what will be the most helpful right now, and what gives helps serve an immediate need. If you think about it right now, we've all talked about digital transformation for years, but if you show up at a company's front door right now and tell them, you've got some grand plan for them to digitally transform, they're just taking it day by day right now. And so you just have to be super thoughtful and really check in terms of, what am I putting forward to my customers? Can it help them today? Can it make a difference today? And we are holding that in terms of being humble and helpful to our customers really as a core value right now. Video, we find just in terms of our channels and the ways to engage, we've seen a huge uptick in video, and I would call it sort of shorter, more snackable video assets. I don't know if everybody right now, everyone's spread pretty thin, can sit and listen to or read long form content or listen to anything long in length in video. And so we're finding really small vignettes that are consumable have performed best for us.
Is there a length? I'm curious to know. Is there a sweet spot in terms of length you're finding for the content you're producing?
I would say right now, keeping it at about 3 minutes is about the length. You can go up to 5 to 8 minutes. Beyond 8 minutes, I think you lose people. But 3 minutes, and then if you've given somebody something that they're interested in, they will go do that next step. So, they will dive into a demo video. They will dive in and do more reading. They will contact someone in your organization. But again, keeping it very much how to, the tolerance right now for tech jargon and all of that is 0. And I think people just net it out for me and do it quickly.
Yeah. Stephanie, I have a question from one of our viewers. This is coming from Michel Defunga. And he asks, has there been a strategic shift with regards to your business objectives?
Has there been a strategic shift regarding our business objectives? I don't think there's been a shift other than to say we've always been about customer first. And so it's just, how do we best serve our customer? So we've always been a customer first organization. And what has changed is that we've had to come back together and say, what are the things that are going to be most helpful to our customers right now? So the priority is still the customer, and it's really just figuring out what are the things that are going to help them get back to work and manage through this crisis most effectively.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw you one more question. This is from Ty Rudy, and he asks if Salesforce has seen any surprising commerce trends through with your customers on the Commerce Cloud. Any shifts in commerce or the way people are shopping?
I mean, we've seen quite a spike in commerce transactions for a lot of leading brands that we power with our Commerce Cloud platform. So I think in terms of just the volume has gone up in transaction, and we saw it back before COVID-19 with the holidays, but just that discussion about when with mobile has far eclipsed the desktop now, and we continue to see that play out here in COVID-19, that people are not only browsing, but they're going through a transaction on their phone. And historically, we saw that mobile people would browse, but they would actually go to transaction off a different device. And now we're seeing people are going all the way through to transaction on the mobile device.
I want to ask you about what you've been learning as a marketer, and hopefully something that people tuning in, if you're a brand manager, you can learn from this. But how, for starters, how is Salesforce shifting its marketing message right now?
Yeah, I think that the big thing is being conscious, really going in and having empathy for where your customers are right now, and being proactive. So I've had a lot of people say, well, maybe, you need to leave your customers alone right now. They're so busy. The reality is, if you approach your customer because you have something helpful that's going to help them continue to take care of their employees and take care of their customers, people want that right now. It's about being helpful. And so that is a huge focus for us in terms of prioritizing those things that we believe that will be able to help them the most. And then really just being creative in terms of the ways and how we handle problems right now. So when we look at things, I'll give you an example. We do something called the Salesforce World Tours. Think of them kind of as a packaging of the best of Dreamforce that we take around the globe throughout the year. We had one in Sydney, Australia, right when this came about. And instead of canceling it, we flipped it to virtual in 6 days. And it was a tremendous undertaking. And what was really interesting was to sit with our customers. We engaged them every step of the way. We said to them, should we cancel this? No, we still want to come together. We need to hear from you. We need to come together. And they really were part of it with us in terms of the content and everything. Yeah. So I see a pretty big difference in terms of the way companies who are successful right now are engaging with the customer every step of the way and having them be part of the dialogue and kind of giving the signal back in terms of what is most useful and what's not. So I think it's really about listening.
Yeah. And, I appreciate that you touched again on events, because I know this is on people's mind. And actually, our viewer, William Corrente, just wrote, how do we combat the lack of trade show conferences, virtual conference platforms? It sounds like you guys are dabbling in that space. Do you think there is still value in bringing together people in a different way, or is too much lost?
Oh, I think there's so much we can do with live broadcast. I am really bullish. I think we wouldn't have picked this way to learn for how to master live broadcast for many of us. And I think at the end of the day, we all crave human connection. I mean, we need it as people, and seeing one another's faces, having the dialogue, having the interaction. Yes, it is a new way. But I think every single day we're uncovering new ways to engage with one another. I personally, just anecdote, I think about what we would say as a team before a meeting started. For 2 or 3 minutes, people come in the room and you're setting up your laptops, and you might ask someone how their weekend is. Well, now you know who their pets are, and you know who their kids are, and that makes people smile. They're finding a way to connect. We still have that need for connection in any scenario, and it's about learning in a live broadcast environment how to do that best.
And I want to end on a future-facing note. I want you to look into the future a bit, and this is a two-part question. So, a theme that has come up on this show with everyone who comes on is I think everyone's trying to get a sense of what is short-term and what is long-term. What changes are happening right now that we might decide to take with us after we pull out of this crisis? I'm curious for your thoughts on, do you anticipate at this point Salesforce, implementing some permanent changes based on what the company is going through right now? And then just personally as a leader, I wonder what you're going to take on with you from this time.
Yeah, it's interesting. What we do every day is help our customers connect with their customers. I mean, our company is all about digital transformation. And so we talk to customers every day, regardless, wherever they are in their journey on digitally transforming. This crisis is forcing companies to digitally transform. And the reality is, what I don't think will go back 100% is I think this is a huge lesson learned for many companies out there, that I need to automate and digitize my processes. I need to be able to weather this kind of storm. And so I do think this is a massive accelerator for digital transformation, not in the most comfortable way, obviously, but I do think it is forcing companies to digitally transform. And I don't think that once they do that, they'll realize the scale and the efficiency and the effectiveness they can get from that. So I don't think they'll go back to their prior ways. So it's been an accelerator for digital transformation. In terms of my own leadership and how I think everyone needs to lead, this has put a huge pause on society and forced us all to slow down, sit still, and reflect. And I think in it, what we can see is the need for greater empathy and understanding, not just for us as people, but just taking care of our environment, everything around us. I'm an optimist. I believe people will be more empathetic and be looking around and not take things so for granted, and have a little bit more compassion and understanding. Because at the end of the day, when COVID-19 does not discriminate. We are all feeling this, and it levels the playing field and makes everyone realize we're just people, we're humans, and how can we take better care of one another? So I'm hopeful that it will drive a higher level of empathy for people towards one another.
Stephanie, I love that as a final thought, sort of the rise of empathetic leadership, which is, I think, a style that we can all use more of these days. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for taking a few of our listeners' questions. It's been great to have you here, and wishing you and your team a lot of luck.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Stay healthy and safe, and thanks so much.
Absolutely. And thanks to everyone who's tuning in today across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on adweek.com/together. Tune in tomorrow at noon Eastern time. We have some special guests. Fox News anchors Maria Bartiromo and also Harris Faulkner will be on the show talking with our managing editor, Chris Ahrens, just about what it's been like to cover the biggest story of a generation from home. So we'll see you tomorrow. I hope you all have a wonderful Monday. Goodbye.